Sorry about that. I didn't realise how long this presentation goes on for, and that was 17 minutes, so I'm nearly done now, so I'm just finishing the last little bit. So back to social construct theory. I've just, in the last video, spoke about all the negative points, what social construct is, and now I'm going to speak about the benefits of being labelled as mentally ill. And you wouldn't think there would be benefits. You'd think it's all negative, but there can be some therapeutic possibilities with the stigma. For example, if the mentally ill person can accept their label, it could foster self-acceptance, which may cause one to seek treatment and help the person understand their illness. Young et al. In 2002 found that people with previously undiagnosed ADHD felt relieved and even joy at their diagnosis. When the mentally ill receive a diagnosis, it may be a relief for them to know that their dysfunction has a name, and they can feel acknowledgement for their struggle with it. Being labelled as mentally ill can also help justify any antisocial behaviour. People can blame the disorder rather than their personality traits. Blaming mental illness for deviant behaviour is good for your self-esteem. Another benefit of labelling is that it helps the patient find the right treatment. They can engage in therapy and receive medication that is specific to their own illness. They will also receive financial and vocal support, and this all leads to a feeling of well-being. Finally, diagnosing someone with a specific mental illness can also create a common language among professionals so they can treat the patient better. They also become more forgiving of antisocial behaviours. As long as illness is known and accepted by others, it is beneficial to the patient's well-being. Now, that's pretty much social construct theory, and then there's a little bit about stigma there as well, so if you've got an exam question coming up on stigma, that will give you the pros and the cons of stigma. But there's criticisms of social construct theory, and that is social constructs all nurture and no nature, and what that basically means is that nature is how you're born, like you're born with it, and nurture is the way you're brought up. So social construct theory is saying the reason people have social constructs as mentally ill is because we're brought up. It's not biologically programmed into our brain. Whereas the nature side would say, no, we're born to have mental illness. So I personally believe it's a bit of both. I think it's nature and nurture. But the social construct theory doesn't take nature into account at all. Yeah. It completely ignores any biological influences or influences from other cultures. As I said in the last video, culture has a huge impact on social constructs. Hacking stated, according to social construction, if things are the way they are only because of our social conventions, as opposed to being so naturally, then we can possibly manipulate them into being how we would rather have them to be. Yeah, get your head around that. So social constructs are not based in factual evidence. Yeah, so basically what this hacking is saying is we can make up a social construct. Like there's no proof, there's no hard evidence about a social construct. We can technically make up anything we want to make up. So long as a big group of people agree on it, it becomes socially constructed. So in conclusion, in order to lower social construction around mental illness and the effects of it, individuals need to interact with the mentally ill on a one-to-one basis. There's so many times where members of the public are scared of people with mental illness because of the media or because of what they've heard, or Chinese whispers that always get worse, whereas if they just sat down and spoke to someone with depression or spoke to someone with bipolar, they'd realise they are just normal people. They just have an illness in their minds. You know, if it was a broken leg, no one would bat an eyelid. But because it's such a taboo subject, you know, people are scared of it. And this will help them build their own opinion as well, so they'll stop taking society's opinion of it for gospel. Mental illness has been scandalised in the media, and if people were to just interact with the mentally ill on an interpersonal level, they would realise the mentally ill are people too. They just have illness of the mind rather than the body. Education is key. to help reduce stigma and social constructs from an early age. We need to learn more about mental illness. You know, we fear the unknown. If we become more aware of mental illness from a young age, it won't be so shocking when we grow up. But not only do we need to educate society, we also need to educate the mentally ill themselves so they can learn how to eliminate their own self-stigmatisation. If we can change the social constructs surrounding racism and feminism, then we can surely change the social construct surrounding mental illness. And that's my lot. Thank you very much for listening.